You're listening to the Trailblazers.fm podcast, where we'll explore the stories of today's successful Black professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders. Join us to access the knowledge, resources, and tools of these accomplished professionals and come away with the know-how, confidence, and motivation you'll need to blaze your trail. And now, here's your host, Stephen A. Hart.
Hello and happy Friday to you. I am so happy it is. If this is your first time joining one of our live broadcasts, I just want to say thank you for joining us. My name is Stephen A. Hart. I'm the host of the Trailblazers.fm podcast, which is a platform I launched back in February of 2016 to explore and highlight the stories of today's successful Black entrepreneurs. Since that time, we have reached over 400,000 people in 145 countries around the world, having featured over 200 Black entrepreneurs, professionals, and leaders. Our podcast has now expanded to include live streams like we are doing today. And so joining me for today's conversation is a returning guest and a dear friend to me and to our Trailblazers.fm community. Jennefer Witter is with us today on the show, and I'm so excited. Now, Jennefer is the CEO and founder of the Boreland Group, which is an 18-year-old PR firm headquartered in New York City. Her agency specializes in women-led and minority-owned businesses. And in addition, Jennefer is an amazing public speaker and an author of the Little Book of Big PR. And actually, always treasure holding a copy of that book right here next to me. So I encourage you to grab a copy when you get a chance, right after this live. And there are a handful of people who come to mind when I think of advocates for women in the workplace, and Jennefer is definitely one of those people that I immediately think of. And so I ask that you all join me in welcoming my dear friend Jennefer Witter to the show today. Jennefer, how you doing?
Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Yes. So excited. Long overdue. I think, it's been several years now since you were initially on the podcast.
You know what? It seems like several minutes. I still get a lot of benefit from being on your podcast, and it's wonderful.
Yes. So not much has changed in the way of how we start these conversations. You know how we do it here on Trailblazers. We begin these conversations off from a place of gratitude. And so I wanted to first ask you to share something that you're most grateful for in your life right now.
Oh, I have so many blessings in my life. The fact that I have my home, a roof over my head, I have food on the table, that I have a wonderful stable of clients. But I would say, and this isn't going to come as a surprise to anybody listening to this podcast during this time, is that I have my health. And that is the most precious thing that one can have. And so with all the gratitudes, and every morning and every night when I, go to bed or get up in the morning, I take a moment to list my blessings, because sometimes we have a tendency to focus on what we don't have as opposed to what we do have. And by leveling it off and remembering that the blessing doesn't have to be huge, it can be something very small, but it allows you to go forward in your life from a place of gratitude.
That is so very true. As you're talking, I'm thinking about literally about 15 minutes ago, before Nigel's my son. We have a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old. Mm-hmm. Jennefer knows my two crumb snatchers. But this morning, every morning before his granddad comes over and takes him through in-home school learning, and I'm so grateful for that. But as you talk about health, every morning we go through our routine. I take him through affirmations, and, he gets up here and he's like, "Dad, I'm strong," and I'm strong. I'm kind. I'm confident. I'm smart. I'm Nigel Hart.
Oh, that is precious.
It starts his day, and it blesses my heart, right? To while the challenges of having him home and working at the same time, it's such a blessing to have him in this time, because for a year I've been able to be around them both. And Layla just went back to school, and so it's getting used to now, realizing that time is about to pass, and they'll be back in school, and we'll be back in the routine. But so grateful for the time that we did have, and the health that we still have despite the pandemic.
Yes, absolutely. What you were saying, that sometimes it's hard to find the silver lining in the
Yeah.
cloud. But if we search a little bit, we will find that one nugget. And when you were speaking about Nigel, and your children are just the most precious little things, that no matter what, when you look back on this time, it'll be tempered by the fact that you and your son had this special time together where you had his affirmations, that you were there a little bit more simply because he is home. And it's just something that, once again, it's that nugget that you look for and you hold on to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I see quite a number of people jumping in this morning. Good morning to Annette. Good morning, Ralston. Good morning, Susan. I see some comments here. I concur, Jennefer. Count blessings. Gratitude is the best attitude. So appreciate everybody that is hanging with us this morning. Jennefer, I wanted us to talk, right, about some women who we should all know more about. But before we get to that, I wanted to take a minute and take advantage of my PR guru and talk a bit about the Boreland Group and gather some of your insights, because you always have some nuggets of wisdom. And I remember talking to you a couple of days ago, and you said this very profound statement. You said, every kick is a boost. And you're sharing, just this challenges, right, that we go through, but that they provide momentum and motivation to kind of take that next steps. And you also shared a bit with me that I took note of about not putting all our eggs in one basket. Talk to us a bit about business as a Black woman in a pandemic, and share with us a couple of things you think or Blaze Nation could benefit from right now in the season, as we're trying to keep our businesses going.
Well, I can tell you, with my business, the Boreland Group, as you said, is 18 years old, and I never got any outside funding or investors. I have totally bootstrapped it from the very beginning. And that has been the situation for many Black-owned businesses. We usually use our own funds to move ahead. But what has happened during this unusual time is that some of us may not have the funds to continue moving our business forward or to invest in our business, simply because of the pandemic. And with the Boreland Group, and I'm always very transparent about the company, we had our own challenges as well. We did lose business as a result of the pandemic, and it was something that was very concerning. And I've always said that if you don't ask, you don't get. And I said, let me take advantage of what I have always preached to others. And I spoke to my staff about it, and because I wanted to get their opinion. And I decided to put out a LinkedIn post and to talk about the fact that the Boreland Group did lose clients. We did have a lower amount of revenue, and that we were looking for a couple of more clients to fill out our portfolio. And I wrote in a way that I didn't sound desperate, because we weren't desperate, but we did need, one or two more clients. And I created an ad in Canva, not an ad, but a graphic. And I put it out there, and I did the hashtag so that it would be found. And what happened was amazing. Altogether, I got about 5,000 views from that LinkedIn post. Yes. About 25 people, without me even asking, reshared it, and they would put in, talk to Jennefer. The Boreland Group is a great agency, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And from that, I got multiple leads from business referrals, and I got a client out of it. So what I would say about business owners, don't put your pride ahead of the needs that you have. Go out there and ask. The other thing with Black owners that I want to say is that those 25 people didn't just fall upon me and say, oh, here's an agency that, I'm going to share onto my platform to the people who I know. Because when you do that, that's akin to a testimonial. And when you give a testimonial, you're putting your reputation online because you're saying that this is a person that you should work with. This is an agency you should work with. Mm-hmm. I constantly network. I never stop networking. And even during this time when you can't be face-to-face, you can do it through virtual networking. Mm-hmm. And I am virtual networking on all platforms, including LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Those are my three primary platforms. And what I want to say to other Black business owners is to look at each of these platforms, which ones go to your direct audience, and then which one is going to give you the most impact. And if you can only do like one platform, focus on one platform. Don't do all three if you don't have the time, because consistency is key. And then when you choose a platform, for example, with LinkedIn, my focus on LinkedIn is to promote my speaking engagements and to promote my business. And from LinkedIn, being consistent, post 20 times a month, which is just once a day. Yeah. And, I got my speaking engagement at the Pentagon, which led to a speaking engagement at the Brookings Institution. And so with Black business owners, what I want you to do is to use the tools that are in front of you. You don't have to pay for it. Now, I mentioned about speaking engagements. The other thing is that the company has gone through a lot. We were formed right after 9/11 and the ensuing recession, and we got through that. And around 2006, 2007, because initially the Boreland Group was focused primarily on real estate. Before I started the Boreland Group, I was a vice president at Ketchum Public Relations, and I did high-tech PR. And in real estate, in the economy, I began to see a bubbliness there. Yeah. As a business owner, you always need to look ahead. You just can't look at what is happening today. You need to project. And I was like, gee, this seems a little bit lofty, because remember back in those days, real estate was the sexiest topic. Yes. Real estate, everybody was buying and selling, and the prices were just, unrealistic. Yeah. So I decided to diversify. So one of the things I did was I moved out of real estate, and it became more encompassing about the areas I go to. And as you mentioned earlier, it's minority owned and women-led companies. I also do corporate communications and nonprofit, but I also started to speak. And it started out slow, and I spoke at local libraries, local organizations, and it began to grow. Remember what I said about LinkedIn? Yes. I talked about where I was presenting, what I was doing, and it kept growing and growing. And now with speaking, it is a good portion of my income. So with every entrepreneur, what I want you to do is to have multiple baskets that will enable you to draw revenue in, so that if one basket is a little bit light, you have the other basket that you can pull from. And then last but not least, this is something that I always say, is that nobody will know how great you are until you tell them.
Yes.
That I always say that.
Yes.
And what you need to do is you have to get from behind the desk. You need to shout it from the rooftops how fabulous you are. Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned that I'm an advocate for women in business, particularly women of color. And I can't begin to tell you, and this is it's a broad brush statement, but this is something that has been in my universe. When I speak to women in particular about going out there, about boasting about what they have done, what they do, they almost cringe. It's like, I can't do that, because women are inculcated to not boast, not to say how great they are. And again, this is a broad brush statement, but I have found it to be true, and studies have found me out as well. You need to go out there and own your success.
Not say you're sorry.
Yes. Oh, don't get me started. With that,
I thought that's...
You know how I feel about that word. Now, if you burn down a building by accident, say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," but eliminate that word from your vocabulary. Why are you apologizing? "Oh, I'm sorry. I would like to ask a question." "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you." Sorry. Stop with the sorry, because there is no reason to apologize. And when you apologize, you diminish your standing and value. You want to ask a question? Ask the question. Don't say, "May I ask a question?" No, ask the question. All right. All these things underscore your value, your expertise. So when you're going out there, be cognizant of the language that you use. Know what your personal brand is. Can you describe who and what you are in the moment it takes to ride in an elevator, the elevator pitch? And I talk about that. What is your messaging? Because people, even nowadays, our attention span is very short, and it's gotten even shorter. So you need to grab that audience in to get them interested in you, because there are a ton of competition out there. So when they think of whatever you sell, you may be an attorney, you may be a magazine, you want people to automatically think of you like, "I need that widget, and I'm going to go to Stephen Hart for it." Or you're going to be among the top 3. So those are the things that I advise Black-owned businesses to do, is to keep moving forward. And what you said, every kick is a boost. Believe it or not, that was a quote from Rue McClanahan from Golden Girls. And she mentioned it when she won an Emmy, because she had so many kicks in her career. And at one point she was so desolate. And her grandmother said, "Don't you know every kick is a boost?" And I can tell you, in my career, and I've been working since the 1980s, I've gotten so many kicks that I have black and blue marks to this day. But I'm grateful for them, because I made it a point to learn from them. And they have advanced me to where I am now. So don't think of a mistake as something that is going to... Yes, it's not a failure. It's an opportunity to learn and to advance your business and yourself.
Yeah. I love that. Listen, everybody watching us right now understands why I love Jennefer Witter, and why she is the right person to have this conversation that we're going to have today, because of her passion and her love. And I'm sure everyone in the comments, they're just going wild, Jennefer. They're enjoying all of your sound bites. I see Minda Hartz is in here. I'm sure Minda is over there shaking her tambourine, right?
I didn't know she played a musical instrument. Go, Minda. How are you, friend?
So, we are here, and we're closing out Black History Month and about to step into Women's History Month, all in one. And so I gave thought to how we could celebrate Black History Month for business owners, right? For business entrepreneurs. And I thought, you know what? Jennefer is the perfect person to have this, because I feel like you even had a post in that vein. And I was like, Jennefer, like, let's connect, right? And so you've got 5 successful Black business women that we should all know. And I'm sure you could probably list 100, but we're going to begin today with 5. And maybe this becomes a annual series on Trailblazers where we have Jennefer talk about the annual 5, right?
Yes.
So we're going to talk about 5 today. So where would you like to start?
I would like to start with, and you're going to see me look down because I have my cue cards, because I want to make sure that everything is correct, with Sonia Smith Valentine.
Yes.
And I adore Sonia. And I met her several years ago through a networking group, Elevate Network. And up until last year, I split my time between New York and Washington, D.C. And Sonia is located in the DMV. And she is a brilliant woman. And one of the reasons why I wanted to showcase Sonia and these other women is because there's a special story with each of them. And with Sonia, it's overcoming adversity and to keep it moving. And just a little bit about her background is that when she was going to law school, and it was around her last year of law school, she was driving in her car and minding her own business, and she was hit by a drunk driver who was going 90 miles an hour. And she suffered very serious injuries. And she recovered, but it took a long time to recover. She had to go to physical therapy, but she kept moving forward. And during the time when she was going to physical therapy, she was finishing the last year of law school. She was studying for her CPA exam, and she was studying for the bar review. And so with Sonia, yes, there were some obstacles in front of us that can seem like mountains to climb. But if you have support and if you take one step at a time and not race up them, you will get to the top of the mountain. And then later on, it was a couple of years ago when there was some kind of accident and she got hit on the head, and she learned that she had a brain tumor. And thank God it was benign, but she had to have it removed. And again, here was another huge challenge in front of her. And in spite of all this, she has become professionally well known. She owns a company she started, is called Financially Fierce. And what she does is provide strategies and solutions on enhancing business skills for an improved workplace performance. People run to Sonia for advice. And it's not just individuals or clients. She has been on television many times in Washington, D.C. She has been on the ABC affiliate WJLA. She is a speaker. She has spoken to many organizations about finances. She obviously works with women and with women. And again, this is fact-based. We need to be a little bit tighter with our finances. And I'll never forget a personal story. I had an apartment in Bethesda, and I would go down like every 2 weeks, and there was something taped to my door. And when I got there, and it was this notice from the sheriff's department that I hadn't paid the rent, which was not true. I always paid the rent, and there had been some kind of glitch in the system that showed that I had not paid it. And I was just beside myself because I paid my bills. And when I just happened to mention it to her because I was venting, she immediately said, "Give it to me." And she took a look at it, and she was reading it, and she goes, "This is it, this is it, this is it, this is it." And so in addition to being a stalwart in finances, in growing her company and being aces with finance, she also has a good soul. And she will look out for her friends and help you without even being asked. And, how much greater can that be with her? So, and one last thing is Financially Fierce is now SHRM, SHRM recertification provider. And I think that's really big. I'm not in the industry, but she has a huge link on her page about that. So it just goes to show that you can overcome a brain tumor, being hit by a drunk driver, and just keep moving forward and have a very, very successful company, because that's what Sonia has. Financially Fierce.
Good stuff. And I'm sharing the website here on our live stream for those of you watching. So definitely check it out, financiallyfierce.com. Good stuff.
Yes. And when I posted about her, because what I've been doing on LinkedIn is to highlight Black women of merit during Black History Month. And of the women that I highlighted, she got the most. For her, it was over 5,000 views.
Wow.
And so I am just tickled pink about it, because what I think is most important is to give back.
Yes.
You just can't take. You have to give back. And the more you give back, the better it is for everybody. Because in my world, the stronger one of us is, the stronger all of us become. So that's my
I
motto.
love that.
Okay.
Love that. All right. So who's next?
All right. The next one is Dr. Oni Blackstock.
Yes.
And Dr. Blackstock is an example of someone who saw a problem, and she didn't just talk about it. She didn't just moan about it. She has set about to solve it. And Dr. Blackstock is a Harvard-trained physician. She has degrees from Harvard College, Harvard Medical School, and Yale School of Medicine. And her specialization is in the area of primary care and HIV and intersectionality, equality advocate. And it's no surprise to people of color that there are disparities in health. I have been, unfortunately, had an experience with that with my mother, where the doctor's overlooking of her symptoms contributed to her passing. And with Dr. Blackstock, what she has done is she's the founder and executive director of Health Justice. And it's a consulting practice focused on helping health and other organizations center on anti-racism and equity in their workplace culture and reduce health inequities in the community. And what her vision is to create a world free of all systems of oppression, where every human being and community is fully supported in achieving optimal health and well-being, and where health inequities are non-existent. And she has gone out there and she has received tremendous support for what she has done. Her name may be familiar to you because she has been on television, she's been on radio, she's been on NPR. She is absolutely positively amazing. And she is going out there using her knowledge, her connections, her expertise, that maybe one day in the future, when a person of color goes to a medical office, a medical practice, that we will be treated the same way as other individuals are.
Yes.
So I applaud her for that, and I thank her for that. And she's making great strides, even though the organization is very young. What she has done just in the past few months would have taken other individuals years to accomplish.
Love it.
Yes. And so
she has a sister, yes?
She has an identical twin sister, Dr. Uche Blackstock.
Yes.
And she went to Harvard. As a matter of fact, their mother went to Harvard. All three of them are Harvard-trained physicians. And they talk about the discrimination they receive. You know, you go in, you're in your white coat, and oftentimes people will say to them, "Are you the doctor?" You know, they can't believe that a Black woman can be a doctor. And there have been times when patients have requested white doctors, believe it or not. And so, you know, they have, you know, been, you would think that there are certain elements that, you know, the implicit bias wouldn't be there, but the implicit bias is. And to see a Black woman as a trained physician is something that some people just can't fathom. And so they talk about some of those things on their, you know, Twitter feeds, in their lives, that this is just ridiculous. But it's something that they go through, and it doesn't make them stop. It just makes them more determined.
Thank you, Dr. Blackstock. Appreciate that. Yes.
Thanks, doctor. Okay. And then
I'm loving this, Jen. I mean, everybody's loving these case studies and these women that you're bringing up. Getting all kinds of good comments in the thread here.
Oh, that makes me happy. I really thought about this. And again, I have so many blessings. I know so many wonderful women. And the next woman who I know, alrighty then. And then the next person we have up her name is Noelle Santos.
Yes.
And with Noelle, it goes to show that you don't have to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth, and you don't have to have connections in order to be successful or to start a dream, and that you can pivot in your career. So she hits a number of different buttons. Now, Noelle and I have something in common. We were both raised in the South Bronx, in the Soundview section of it. And she went to Lehman, and she has a bachelor's and master's in business accounting and in HR management, respectively. And she always loved to read. I always loved to read. And she heard that the only bookstore in the borough of the Bronx, New York City is divided into 5 boroughs. The Bronx is one of them. Was going to shut down, and she signed a petition trying to keep that bookstore open, because I feel that bookstores are the lifeblood of any community. And when she said, and then she found out it was going to close, and then she was like, you know what? She goes, I'm going to open an independent bookstore. And that's what she did. Now, remember, she did not set out to be an entrepreneur. She wasn't thinking about being a bookstore owner. And you know what? She did it. And she also didn't forget her roots, because she opened up the Lit Bar, and it's in the South Bronx. It's on Alexander Avenue, and it is a very popular bookstore. And thankfully, they have reopened, and you can go visit them to pick up books. And the other thing is that you can order online from her. And so, in the background, you may see that I have a book up there, Arising. It's right over there.
Yes.
With Malcolm X, and I ordered it from her bookstore. And with Noelle, she's just phenomenal. She has held it together, and she too was honest about the pandemic, that it was impacting her business. And she has gone out and she has gotten a $10,000 grant from the New York Giants in partnership with Visa. And she is so popular. Maybe one day, Stephen, you and I will get this honor.
Yes.
That in the Hunts Point section of the South Bronx, where I may add, it's where Colin Powell was raised, they did a wall mural of her.
Really?
Yes, an entire wall mural of her. And it just goes to show the impact she has had
That is so amazing.
On the community. They appreciate her. The bookstore is also a wine bar, the Lit Bar. And so you can go there, you can read, have a glass of wine, or order a glass of wine and take it out, because I don't think you're able to drink anything there during the pandemic. But Noelle is someone to keep an eye on. She's very young. She has a long way to go in her career. But starting out, the Lit Bar started in 2019. And she is making huge waves, and she is a young woman to watch. And the address is 131 Alexander Avenue. And you can go there to pick up a book, wear your mask, but also you can order online. So supporting her means that you can help other, Black authors and a Black-owned business. So she's just absolutely phenomenal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am. Listen, if you are enjoying all of these amazing women that Jennefer is sharing with us, I want some ones in this comment thread right now. I mean, this is just amazing, Jennefer. Thank you so much for lifting up these amazing women who are doing so much in a season. Might I remind everyone, a lot of Black-owned businesses have gone out of business in this year during the pandemic. And so I find it so uplifting and encouraging when we are in support of those who are still trying to keep themselves going and pushing ahead and not just surviving, but thriving, and finding new ways to position themselves for success. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And do you have time? I'm just going to quickly.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, we have one more, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes, we have one more, girl. We ain't rushing. Blaze Nation is here with you.
Because Cherise May is another person that I wanted to highlight, obviously. And she has kind of a non-traditional career. She's a photojournalist. and she's the owner of Edame Media Group. And she's another person who didn't have any contacts and started at the ground up. And she's amazing. And her work has appeared on the cover of the New York Times. And one of her greatest achievements out of many is that she took very recently one of the portraits that's being used by the current First Lady of the United States, Joe Biden.
Wow.
And if you see the photograph of Dr. Biden in a blue suit leaning on a chair, that is the photograph that Cherise May took. She went to Howard University, and she's another person who believes in giving back. She's now an adjunct professor at Howard, teaching other students. She does portraiture. She works. Her work has been used by Reuters. She has photographed the Obamas, John Lewis, and in a field that you don't see many people of color, or even a smaller group, women of color. She is making great strides. And I do want to make a note of this, is that she was at the Capitol on the day of the insurrection, January 6th.
Really?
And, she was a little bit nervous about that, but she was telling people, don't worry, I'll be inside the Capitol. I won't be outside. And she was inside the Capitol when the coup attempt was made. And Elijah Cummings, she was able to get into his office. No, I'm sorry, it was not Elijah Cummings. It was another senator. But she was able to get into his office, and they locked the doors. And she really thought her life was over at that moment. And I'm not sharing anything. She was recently featured on a local station in Washington, D.C., where she tells her story. And even then, she was working. And she took pictures in the office. She took pictures outside. Obviously, she didn't release them because it would have been a threat, but she released them when everybody was safe. Yeah. And she has done wonderful work. She is documenting the time that we are in an objective way, because the pictures speak for themselves. She has a strong visual eye. She is verbal in the use of her photography, because each photograph has to tell a story, and that's what she's able to do. So she's a supremely talented woman, and I'm just in awe of her all the time, and sometimes in very difficult circumstances, because she did cover the past election, and as we know, it was very difficult. With a lot of racist groups out there, such as the Proud Boys and the Patriots, and she would go in among the crowd and take pictures, because it's necessary to document, because if you don't document, you may not remember, or it may be looked at differently. And she went in there full throttle, sometimes at personal risk, and she did her job, and she did it well.
Wow. Listen, thank you again, Jennefer. As we wrap up here, first off, tell us how we can stay connected to you.
Oh, you can stay connected with me. Follow me on LinkedIn. If you send a connection, I will connect with you immediately. You can follow me on Twitter. It's Jennefer, JenneFer @TBG, and or it's @Jennefer TBG. Forgive me. And just stay in contact those two ways. And I look forward to getting connected with many of your listeners. And I'm always one email away. You can always direct message me if you have a question about your business and how to use PR. I'm always happy to give time to answer those questions.
And I can't wait for you to get back, for COVID to pass, and for me and Jennefer to be able to sit in our little coffee bar in Bethesda and connect. Jennefer, you are a blessing. I acknowledge you for all that you do each and every single day, to lift up and to impact others. I'm so blessed to have this time with you. You're a dear friend, and a real one. So everyone who's been hanging with us, rocking with us, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Jennefer, before I let you go, what's one action that our Blazer Nation should take this week that's going to help them to blaze their trail?
I would say get out there, get on social media, and start posting. And post with intent, post with a goal in mind, because the sooner you start, the sooner you'll get out there. And remember, I said this before, nobody will know how great you are until you tell them. Use that social media platform to get out there and get your unfair share of attention.
That's it. Thank you, Jennefer. God bless.
Thank you, Stephen. And thank you for everything. I truly appreciate you, my fellow West Indian.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thanks for spending time with us today. If we aren't yet connected, let's keep the conversation going on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, we grow when you subscribe, share, and invite others to check us out. We believe that others who consume these stories will be moved to make significant changes that have generational impact for many others, both now and well into the future. Blaze Nation, go out today and keep blazing your trail.